What's up, guys? Today we're going to talk about post-workout nutrition and intra-workout nutrition. Now, we're not going to get into crazy detail. I just want to go over carbohydrate amounts, different options, what the current research states, and how to decide what carbohydrates and how to format your meals into your pre and post-workout. Because generally people like to center most of their carbohydrates around pre and post, which does make sense considering carbs are energy source and you're going to be using the most amount of energy during your workout to fuel your workout, and then you're going to need a larger amount of carbohydrates post-workout to refuel what you lost as glycogen in the muscles and the liver. Now, I'm just going to go over a few things, okay? So here we have meals 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We're just going to say that these subjects are eating 5 meals per day to kind of lay this out very simply for you, okay? Subject A, B, and C. 5 meals per day. We're just going to say that meal 2, meal 3 are always pre and post workout, okay? They are exercising once per day only. An hour of weight training. We're not talking about cyclists, endurance athletes. We're talking about weight training. You can even call it powerlifting, weight training, bodybuilding. That style is anaerobic training, just for an hour, 60 minutes. Subject A has 45 grams of carbs and even interboluses of 5 meals per day, okay? So same amount of carbs and all meals, all subjects per day. Subject B has 30 grams of carbs, a little more around pre, a little more around post, a little less in meal 4, meal 5. Subject C has a little carbs in meal 1, the most in pre and post, and none in meal 4 and 5, okay? Now, currently, if you're exercising once per day, exercising once per day, anaerobic weight training, you're generally a regular lifter, not competitive, don't compete. Honestly, doing anything post-workout different than a normal meal is probably not needed. You can do it if you like, but is it going to benefit you? Probably not. Post-workout nutrition matters the most if nutrition throughout the rest of the day is not adequate. If the rest of the nutrition throughout the day is adequate and you're receiving enough energy balance, enough sufficient caloric intake, then post-workout, pre-workout nutrition does not matter because the glycogen stores will be loaded. You're only exercising once a day and you're having even carbohydrates the whole day to replenish glycogen for the next day. Now, other factors we'll describe later will change that. But like I said, if you're a general gym goer, subject A, and you're not a competitor and you're just a recreational weightlifter, honestly, you don't really need to change much about increasing your carbs pre and post workout. It's really not going to make much of a difference. Subject B, we have 30 grams of carbs, a little bit less, a little bit more meal 2, meal 3, less meal 4, meal 5. Now this is completely fine, all right? Now we're just going to talk about some pluses and minuses here. Increasing carbs pre and post, you're obviously going to have a little bit more energy around those days, a little bit less carbohydrates needed the rest of the days if you live a sedentary lifestyle. That's completely acceptable. This is something that I would do, center around my diet, my current nutrition now. I generally like to do that and eat less carbs through the day due to my digestive issues. Other downfall is sometimes to some people, carbs make them sleepy. Increasing carbohydrates meal for pre-workout will probably be sufficient. Exerting yourself, getting a little depleted, entering post-workout, you might get a little tired, a little sleepy here, might get a little dips in energy. Anytime carbohydrates generally vary through the day, and insulin levels do, sometimes you get little dips. But generally, types of carbohydrates we'll get into later can help minimize that. Subject C, we have 30 grams of carbs, meal 1, 90 grams of carbs, meal 2, 3, 0, 4, and 5. Now obviously, in this case scenario, say if the person's sedentary or going through the rest of the day, their body's going to be more reliant on more of their own energy during this time to stabilize blood sugar, because blood sugar is going to be lower because carbohydrates aren't going in at this time. So in theory, this body should be burning fat at this point. And also, in theory too, considering the same amount of calories in all subjects, you should really not see any type of loss because there's no caloric deficit. Obviously you can argue that. I'm not, because generally calories in, calories out don't really hold true as much as people think it does. But in theory, that's what people are going to argue. Again, this is a different style of carbs, I really personally don't see this as a beneficial option for many people unless you are in a calorie deficit and say we're bringing this to 0, this to 60 and 60. So now we are in a calorie deficit and you're sending your carbs around training pre and post to give you the fuel and then replenish glycogen here. That's adequate and that's fine too. Now, other things that change this are goals. Are you trying to lose weight? Are you trying to build muscle? Because pre and post workout nutrition, the concept of it in bodybuilding is having this huge bolus of carbs post workout to replenish glycogen, to spike insulin, get the anabolic hormones, you get the whey to increase protein synthesis, it equates to more muscle mass. And honestly, current research is limiting in that factor. In theory, it makes sense. It does. Do you want to have carbohydrates and protein within 30 to 45 minutes post-workout to maximize protein synthesis and recovery? Absolutely. Is having this crazy strategic scientific concoction of stuff post-workout going to yield this crazy amount of muscle mass difference over 30 days, 60 days, 90 days? Probably not. If there's a placebo effect, then it's probably going to be worth it for you. So that's a typical thing with goals is obviously weight loss. This is probably better for weight loss, but we would knock these numbers down to create the deficit, put more carbohydrates around pre and post workout. So the whole day is in a deficit total, but most of the energy is supported around pre and post. Others will argue that and say that you should just do 30, 30, 30, 30, and the whole day is a deficit and carbs are even so you get steady blood levels. As you guys are seeing, there's no real true right or wrong. There's different philosophies, there's different ways of going about doing it. You really kind of got to adopt what you feel is best for you or try different things. And the more experience I have with this and the more knowledge I have in my education, you start to really realize that nothing's really black and white, and there's a lot of gray areas, and there's a lot of things that fit individuals to individuals. That's why you have so many people who have champions but different ways of training and eating and dieting that all achieve the great result for them. That's why you really have to pick up as much knowledge as you can and apply that and adapt it to your plan and see how it works and give it a try. Stop asking so many questions on what they should do and listen to verbatim. Is more so get the information, apply it, try it, see how it works, and then move forward from there. Exercising twice a day. So pre and post-workout nutrition becomes more important when you're exercising twice a day, because really the post-workout nutrition came from a lot of research with Olympic athletes where they had to exercise twice a day and their performance mattered by 0.3 of a second. So replenishing glycogen as fast as possible to give their body stored energy to perform again. But again, this is like cyclists, these Olympic athletes. This is not, let's do some curls, wait 90 seconds. Let's do some curls, wait 90 seconds. Okay? Again, if you're weight training twice a day, obviously it might be advised to have a very good post-workout and really look at that area of recovery if you are training twice a day, which I don't recommend. But that's where that kind of thought process comes from. Exercising twice a day, post-workout nutrition becomes very important, okay? Once a day, not as important. As the top line, if you're eating throughout the day and you're not in a calorie deficit and you're eating what you need and carbs are even across the board, complex, exercising once a day, you really don't need to change much. You really don't.